What is the latest? When did you hear last from her?
So the latest is, as you said, so we heard on Monday. I spoke to her on Monday, which is a normal phone call. She was saying she was being transferred to hospital and that she was going to be taken in handcuffs and ankle cuffs and was worried about whether she should go or not because she wasn't going to be allowed any family contact or wasn't given any assurances there'd be family contact. And then, yeah, that's the last we heard. So her dad went down on Tuesday to the hospital to check on her, spent all day there, wasn't able to get in to see her, but was confirmed that that's where she is. Wouldn't say what treatment she was having, wouldn't say how long she'll be there for. And she was held by the Revolutionary Guard. And Iran's a bit complicated. There's the different bits of there's the government, and then there's the Revolutionary Guard, who are kind of the scary security guys. They're the ones who are guarding her. Normally, hospital would have prison guards to stop you running away, but you wouldn't have Revolutionary Guards there. That was a Monday. Yesterday, her mum went down. Her mum went down, wasn't able to see her either. Actually was told she had to leave or the police would be called on her. So that didn't happen. And then today her lawyer went down to try and see it. Again, didn't get access. So we don't know. Like, it might be, well, my worry is here that actually she's fine and she's being treated by doctors and all is OK. And it might be not. And obviously, the longer it goes on, the more worried.
When you spoke to Nazanin herself, did she know why she was going to the hospital? Had she asked to go? Had she...
So not directly asked, but in fact, a couple of months back, she'd seen a psychiatrist who said had been shocked at how she'd deteriorated mentally, and they said, listen, you should be in hospital. So that psychiatrist had written a report to say she should be hospitalised immediately, which the prison had sat on. And then, obviously, I mean, she said recently she was on hunger strike, which was kind of a desperate act of just, like, something needs to happen. Yeah. And perhaps in response to that, then finally they decided to allow her to...
So was it the hunger strike that maybe provoked the hospital?
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. I think that was sitting on her file for a while, and I think probably the prison was not taking it so seriously. Then clearly hunger strike is a clear desperation, and they felt that obviously there was quite a lot of political pressure and support and kindness that we got, that something needed to be done.
And of course you did this hunger strike with her outside the embassy. How did that feel for you doing that with her? Did it almost bring you closer together, the fact that you were going through this together?
Yeah, I think it felt... I mean, it's a strange thing to do, a hunger strike generally, and it was camping on the street, which, so in some ways, just the experience of camping on the street and realising how vulnerable you feel doing that was also an experience. But yes, I think it brought us much closer in that we were both going through it together and you know, standing up for each other.
And were you talking to each other through?
So they didn't stop the phone calls. So I was getting in those days phone calls a couple of times a week. So those were so I got to know how she was doing and so on. And of course, at the beginning, there's kind of a euphoric we're doing, and then physically it's quite tough. So most of the phone calls were just about how she was doing physically and how it was hard. And I found for me, the first couple of days you're hungry, and then your body adapts to not being hungry. You forget feeling hunger. And of course, my experience was lots and lots of people coming up to say hello and being nice and kind. So it was actually, I mean, physically tough, but emotionally really nurturing.
And how was it for her?
Quite different, of course, because she's stuck in prison, and essentially what happened was the first week the Iranian authorities tried to move us on. The second week they started trying to pressure her, Nazanin, so she kept being taken to meet interrogators whose job is to be scary and so on. So she was fairly traumatised, so I'm glad...
And therefore, and you as well, having to hear that, how hard
That's right, for her to sort of talk through what she'd been through, and you know, and it's one thing to keep going on hunger strike when you're being told how, you know, great and nice and supportive it is, and having those politicians come. Different thing when you're you know, very close.
Richard, a lot of people watching this will be thinking, why are the British government not just, you know, dealing with Iran and sorting it? But of course, it's more complex than that, isn't it? Because she has dual citizenship.
Yeah, it's certainly more... I mean, it's always more complex.
So Iran are sort of saying, well, she's our citizen, so we'll do what we want.
There's a couple of things going on. So it is always more complex for the British government to solve problems overseas. We've complained a lot of times the government should do more and should be more tougher and so on. But without doubt, it's harder. One of the things Iran always says is, yes, she's Iranian as well. She's an Iranian citizen. We don't recognise her British citizenship. You can't get out. So, for instance, the British embassy's never been able to visit her in 3 or 8 years.
Oh, never?
Never been able to visit her.
And they're still trying, though, aren't they?
Yeah, so we keep pushing. It's important to keep trying her. And it's not just happening to British citizens. There are a number of citizens, foreign citizens, who are being held by Iran kind of as bargaining chips, where, again, in all cases, the other country can't get access.
I mean, it's tough enough, Richard, but you have the extra burden of the fact that your daughter, Gabriella, who is now 5...
Just turned 5, big girl now, yeah.
...is out in Iran.
So you haven't seen your daughter for 3 years either?
I haven't seen Gabriella, that's right. So since they went, you know, Gatwick Airport saying goodbye when she was sort of 1 3/4 and running around the airport the way that... and of course she's much bigger now. And that's right, that she went. She's actually sort of grown up without both of her parents and been looked after by her grandparents. And probably because she's so little, she didn't quite understand what was happening. So in some ways, that was easier because she accepts it as normal.
Easier for her, but not for
and
you.
you know, she just, you know, OK, well, everyone else is miserable on the sofa, but when we go to the park, you know, and focus on the sort of way small children are. And bless her, like, last week, she was complaining at the family visit as to, you know, Mummy, can you stop telling Granny about prison? Can I, you know, call her, talk about prison when we need to do a drawing, and just focusing on that. But you're right, obviously, at the beginning, she was there, her passport was confiscated, at some point it was given back, and then we had a decision about what to do. I asked to go to Iran, got an application and not been able to get there. And so we've had this point now where what happens to Gabriella?
Because she's school age, isn't she now?
School. And a long time ago we said, well, if she gets to 5, then that's, you know, a time to make a decision. These things need to be done slowly and carefully. And it will be her decision. I you know, would like to go there and talk it through with her, and you know, maybe that means we decide to stay, maybe we bring her back.
What are you going to do next in terms of... So she's in this psychiatric hospital, you think. Nobody can get in touch with her. What is your next move if you literally can't get any contact?
Well, so the immediate thing is to try and get contact, and that's from the family, that's from the Foreign Office to send some of the embassy, and just to keep pushing that, because it is outrageous that's not allowed. And it may only be that this is a few more days and then something happens. It may be she's just there for tests, it may be she's there and then back, you know, for a while. We've had various baggage with... We've had experience with both of the Prime Minister candidates, and whoever it is, I think it's important that they take personal responsibility for Nazanin's case, for the case of the others who are being held, and that it's a personal priority to solve her case, and just to protect people unfairly held overseas, of which there are many.
Richard, we spoke earlier, and you were on the show a couple of years ago, and talking just about the struggle at that stage, and here we are in 2019 with the same one. But we've just been absolutely kind of knocked back by your resolve and your attitude and your strength of character, to be honest, because...
It's quite hard to watch the old stuff, sometimes quite hard to watch stuff back on television, and you know, because there's a way in which our story is, you know, we've gone from being normal people to suddenly living in this really strange bubble of a world. It'll go back to being normal one day. Part of what my job to do is to keep the normal going, and that's to, you know, go to work, to keep, you know, the flat, to you know, hold on to you know, to speak to Gabriella and just to talk about the things we're going to do, and just to keep grounded in the fact that you know, this will be over. This requires all sorts of the kindness of people, that, you know, the great and the good, but also lots of lovely ordinary people that came up to see it. And that, it's just, you know, in campaigning, you kind of think, and campaigning is quite important for her voice being, but also emotionally to survive something like this. But it's also, it's not about bashing the government. I mean, it is about bashing the government sometimes, but it's more than that. It's about keeping alive the fact that there is a normal world. There's lots of kindness out there. In the midst of all this cruelty and horrible stuff that has happened to us, actually most people are decent and kind and can see this is a horrible story, but it will end, and it will end because kind people help us through it.
Yeah. Well,